Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this Master of Economics webinar from Macquarie University. My name is Michael Dobby. I'm the Program Director for the Master of Economics in the Department of Economics at Macquarie University. The webinar tonight will have two parts. I'll talk for about 20 minutes and overview the Master of Economics, hopefully answering many of your questions along the way by the presentation. Hopefully answer many of the questions that you might have. After I've done that, then there will be the opportunity for you to ask questions, and I'll attempt to answer those questions. If, when the webinar is over, you suddenly realise there's a question you'd like to ask, you can always email us at postgraduate@mq.edu.au, and we'll get back to you with an answer then. That email address will be up at the end of the presentation as well. So I just want to start by talking about why would you want to do a Master of Economics? Well, economics, there's a lot of good reasons for why you want to do a Master of Economics. And I just want to focus on one very interesting one. Economics is an analytical problem-solving discipline. It doesn't train you to do one particular job. Rather, it creates knowledge and skills that you can apply in a vast array of situations. Why does that matter? Well, recent economic research suggests that 40% of the jobs that currently exist, that's 40%, will not exist in 10 years' time. That's 10 years' time, not 100 years or 50, 10 years' time. These jobs will have been eliminated by what is referred to as digital disruption, basically computers replacing human labour. Of course, the same digital disruption that destroys jobs creates new ones. What types of skills will those jobs require? Well, no one can say for sure because they haven't been created yet, but what can be safely claimed is that analytical problem-solving skills will never go out of fashion. We'll never be able to automate them out of existence. So a master's degree in economics will provide you with knowledge and skills that will stand the test of time, will guarantee your employability in a very dynamic, changing labour market. I just want to overview the program, the Master of Economics program. It's a coursework degree, so you do the degree by doing a series of courses. There are two types of courses in the degree. There are core units that you have to do, ones that look at advanced microeconomics, advanced macroeconomics, applied econometrics. The econometrics is the sort of quantitative end of the discipline. Research frontiers in economics, so there is some exposure to research methodologies and how they're used in economics, and economics of public issues, which is what we call a capstone. It attempts to bring together all the things that you've learned throughout the program and show you how they can be used to solve real-world problems. In addition to these 5 core units, there are elective units that you get to choose. You have to do 7 of those. And I've listed some of them on the slide that you're currently looking at. Not all of them by any means, but just some of them. So financial economics, development economics, international trade, money and financial policy, mathematical economics. There's a business internship option, which I'll talk about a bit more later, and numerous others. So you choose to do 7 of those. Who is this degree for? Well, look, it's suitable for professionals who want to update their skills. So people who are already working in an economics-related field can update their skills by doing this degree. This degree can help people to jump to the next level in their career. And it can also help people to change careers completely. And that's something I want to focus on a bit again in a minute. Minimum entry requirements. How do you get into this degree? Well, you require an Australian level 7 bachelor's qualification or recognised equivalent, and you have to have a GPA of 4.5 out of 7. What that basically means is you have to have passed. You don't have to perform brilliantly in your undergraduate degree to get into this master's, but you have to just obtain solid passes. We have a thing called recognition of prior learning. So in other words, you can gain exemptions from some of the units if you've done those units in previous studies. There's a number of ways in which you can get prior learning recognised. Firstly, through relevant studies in related disciplines like economics, business, commerce, econometrics, and finance. You can also get recognition for prior learning, or exemptions, in other words, from work in this degree if you've done relevant work experience, and that relevant work experience can be demonstrated to have developed the kinds kinds of skills and knowledge that you would have to do as part of this degree. And finally, membership of relevant professional institutions or associations like Chartered Financial Analysts, the CPA Australia, or Association of Chartered Certified Accountants. These professional organisations often require people to have some economic knowledge in order to become members. And so we can use that as a basis for recognition for prior learning, which then can be used to give you exemptions. So the degree is a 2-year full-time degree. We have 2 sessions per year, so it takes 4 sessions of work to complete this 2-year full-time degree. It can also be done part-time. It takes 4 years part-time. It can be done a combination part-time. You can do a year full-time and the rest part-time, any combination you want. So 2-year full-time degree, the entry requirements is a level 7 bachelor's degree, and that degree could be in any area. So it might not be related at all to economics. It'll get you into the master's, but you might not have studied any economics at all in that degree. So the obvious question is, how do you do a master's degree in economics if you don't have any background in economics? And what we've done is the first session of the degree, the first 6 months, involved doing 4 units, which we call gateway units. And these units have been specifically designed to bring people up to speed. So to take people who have no background in economics and bring them up to the point where they can actually successfully undertake master's level work. And so that's how we allow or facilitate people changing degrees. So your bachelor's degree, for example, could be in nursing, and you might decide you don't want to be a nurse anymore. You can use that undergraduate qualification to get into the Master of Economics, and by doing the gateway units during the first 6 months, you are brought up to speed to be able to do the Master's postgraduate units proper. Now, if you do have a cognate undergraduate degree, so if your undergraduate degree, for instance, is in economics or a related field, then you don't necessarily have to do those gateway units. And so your degree could then become a 1.5 year degree. And so on this slide, we outline a number of scenarios, and I don't want to go through them all, but there's a number of scenarios there where through a process of having studied economics at an undergraduate level or having done work experience, which has exposed you to economic ideas, or having been a member of a relevant professional institution, which means you've got some economic knowledge. There are a range of scenarios, and you can see on that slide that recognition for prior learning can take your 2-year full-time degree down to a 1.5 year degree or even a 1-year degree, depending on exactly what you've got. So that's recognition for prior learning, and that's recognition for prior learning. And there's more information about that on the university website if you're interested. Also, you can ask us questions. Another point I want to make is about what we call the research track within the Master of Economics. We introduced this in 2017. It's for domestic students only, and it's only for students who have performed extremely well. The Master of Economics, as I said, is a coursework degree. There's another degree offered by the university called a Master of Research, and as the name suggests, this is a degree that gives high-level training in research skills. This degree, this Master of Research degree, is a worthwhile degree in its own right. It opens up many employment opportunities. It's also a pathway to a PhD, to work with a Doctor of Philosophy degree. The research track within the Master of Economics has a fairly strict entry criteria. You have to perform extremely well. It's written on that slide there, but again, we can provide that information if you're interested. The main point is the entry standards are quite high, but the advantages are also very, very high as well. If you get into the research track for the Master of Economics, then at the end of your Master of Economics degree, you go straight into the second year of the Master of Research degree, and you do a thesis, a 20,000 word thesis under supervision from an academic. And so by the end of 3 years of full-time study, you've actually completed 2 very, very sought after master's degree, a Master of Economics and a Master of Research. Other benefits associated with this research track are that the Master of Research part of the degree is free. There's no fees attached to it. So if you're interested in that, certainly ask questions. We can help you with that. Career opportunities for people who have economics training. Well, there are many jobs. Obviously, you can work as an economist, but a lot of the jobs that economists do, precisely because of what I said at the beginning, that economics is an analytical problem-solving discipline where those skills can be applied in many different contexts. A lot of people with master's degrees in economics end up working in jobs that don't have the word economist in the job title. But some other examples, market analysts. Economics is very much about the analysis of markets, how they work, and so that knowledge can be applied to help businesses that operate in particular markets like real estate markets, or share markets, or energy markets, foreign exchange markets, and many more. Management consultants, investment analysts, planning and policy analysts in the government space, researchers, many, many more. There are many job opportunities for economists. These are just some of your potential employers: the commercial banks, large and small businesses, business analyst firms, financial institutions, NGOs, all government departments, all 3 levels of government, local, state, federal, for economists, merchant bankers, stockbrokers, and so forth. Potential salary for people who have got a master's in economics, the starting salaries can be around about $100,000. An example, just one example of a successful Master of Economics student, a person who graduated in recent times, is Anique Lombard. After graduating with her Master of Economics, Anique took up a position as an economist with Australia's Agency for International Development, AusAid. This is a fantastic job where she's basically involved in doing work on research projects in developing countries within our region. The work is incredibly interesting and challenging. It's also very worthwhile because she's helping to improve the lives of people in poorer countries. Her master's degree in economics took her straight into that job. I've talked about the benefits of a master's degree in economics. Why do one at Macquarie University? Well, the first thing is our reputation. We have a great reputation, and this is not just a shallow boast. We can prove it in a number of ways. The international tertiary education market's a very big, competitive marketplace, and there are rating agencies out there that make their money out of providing information about the quality of different universities. And the Shanghai Jiaotong Academy of Ranking World Universities is one of the best ranking agencies in the world. It puts Macquarie in the top 2% of universities in the world. It puts Macquarie in the top 10 in Australia. Another highly regarded ranking agency is the QS ranking agency. It ranks universities across a number of categories: quality of teaching, employment outcomes for students, research quality, and so forth. It employs a star system, 5 stars being the best. Macquarie in 2015 got 5 stars in all of the QS categories. The Times Higher Education Supplement is another ranking organisation. It ranks Macquarie as number 49 in the world in terms of its internationalness. By that they mean things like the ratio of foreign to domestic students, the ratio of foreign to local staff, and the quality and the quantity of connections that Macquarie has with international organisations and international universities. So Macquarie is a global, international university with a great reputation. We also have industry partnerships. Macquarie is located 15 kilometres from the CBD of Sydney. More importantly, we're located right next door to the biggest high technology precinct in Australia, where many leading companies have premises, Siemens, for example. And we have gone out of our way to establish connections and networks with those companies who are on our doorstep. And one of the payoffs for students from that activity is internships. Now, internships can have a bad name. They don't always work out, but we do internships extremely well at Macquarie. Internship experience at Macquarie is an excellent one. So we have established connections with these leading companies in our region, right next door to us, and it means that you can engage in a high quality internship that is walking distance from the classroom. I'll talk a little bit more about internships later. We also have an interdisciplinary approach. Macquarie University actually pioneered interdisciplinary studies in the world in which we live today. Being able to think outside the box is extremely important, and interdisciplinary studies helps you to do that. So as part of your Master of Economics, you do lots of economics units, but you have the option, and indeed we encourage you to do units from other disciplines within the business faculty. Continuing to think about why study at Macquarie, well, what about the economics department at Macquarie is a very good reason for studying. The economics department at Macquarie has a genuine commitment to teaching. It's not acceptable not to be a good teacher in this department. We have some great researchers, some great teachers. I'll just name a few. Professor David Throsby is a distinguished professor at Macquarie University. He is a leader in the field of cultural economics. In fact, he created the field. There are very few people who can say they are at the top of their field. There are even fewer people who can say they created the field that they now dominate. Professor Jeff Sheen is a highly regarded macroeconomist. I can say lots of things about Jeff. Sometimes you can say things about people by the quality of the people they collaborate with. Jeff has published a major macroeconomics textbook with Olivia Blanchard. Olivia Blanchard was the chief economist with the International Monetary Fund for a number of years, including during the years of the global financial crisis. Associate Professor Sean Turnell is an expert in development and finance. He's also an expert on the economy of Myanmar, and in fact, he's the Burmese leader Aung San Suu Kyi's personal economic advisor. He's currently working there with her on economic issues. Associate Professor Tony Bryant is an expert in general equilibrium theory, a very complicated and difficult area of economics. Fortunately, he's also an outstanding teacher. Associate Professor Rosalind Joyaux is an expert in time series econometrics. There are many more. These are the people you get to work with. Studying and working together is difficult. So it's great to have a learning environment that's conducive, that helps to make life as easy as possible. And that's another plus for studying at Macquarie. We have a great environment. Some of the things that we've got that you can see on the screen there, we've got a world-class library. It's a fully automated robotic library. It's arguably the best library at any university in Australia. We have spaces for students to study in groups and by themselves. We have childcare facilities if you need them. There's a Macquarie University Hospital is the most advanced private hospital on any university campus in Australia. It also provides services to staff and students. Campus Hub, where you can get food, entertainment. We've got a great sports and aquatic centre. We've got great parking and public transport options. I just want to mention the Global Leadership Program as well. This is something that can be quite attractive to students. The Global Leadership Program at Macquarie aims to develop student leadership, cross-cultural understanding and international awareness. It's an extracurricular program, so it's certainly not compulsory. You choose to do it, and it's extracurricular. It's not part of the formal program. It's funded entirely by the university, and it's open to all Macquarie University students. The aim, the mission statement of the Global Leadership Program is that students should be global in their outlook and competence with a demonstrated ability to work in cross-cultural environments and practice leadership that is consultative, collaborative, and a force for positive change. These things are worthwhile things in and of themselves, but they also, again, give you an edge in the employment market. 70% of multinational corporations say they prefer graduates who can demonstrate some kind of cross-cultural skills. And that's what the Global Leadership Program aims to provide. This is an example of the sort of thing, the kind of activities you get involved in with the Global Leadership Program are participation in workshops at think tanks, participation in seminars in different organisations, attending talks by prominent people. The one on your screen right now is Rachel Botsman. Rachel Botsman's an academic, an author, a consultant to business. She's one of the leading thought leaders in the world in what we call the share economy. So things like eBay, Uber, Airbnb, Kickstarter, these things are changing the way we consume, they're changing the way we do business. And so that's an example of the kind of person you get exposed to if you do the Global Leadership Program. The Global Leadership Program, at the completion of it, you get a certificate, and it's also registered on your academic transcript that you participated in. There's also opportunity for internships, as I mentioned before, and there's a lot of information on that slide about the benefits of an internship. I just want to say a couple of things. Firstly, at Macquarie, we do internships extremely well. As I've said, sometimes internships can be a bit vexed. They can sometimes turn out to be cheap labour or free labour for companies and not much in it for the student. That is definitely not how we do it at Macquarie. We have high quality internships, and we can demonstrate that on numerous occasions those internships have led to careers at the end of the internship. And so, if you're interested in that, again, we can provide more information. These are some of the partners that we have internship arrangements with. So they include Yahoo, Qantas, Siemens, and so forth, many leading companies. And the final slide there is just a little bit of testimonial from a student who did an internship at Qantas. I'll leave that one up to you to have a look at. For now, I'll stop talking and I'll ask for any questions that you might have. So we have a question from Tanmaya. How can I choose research project subjects? And the question seems to be that the website shows permission from Dean as a prerequisite. What is the actual procedure? That's a good question, Tanmaya. Look, yeah, when you're doing a research project subject, it means you have to indicate that you've actually thought about what you want to do, that you've got a viable project. So when we say permission from the Dean, what we really mean is you need to think about the project that you'd like to undertake, and then you need to approach an academic within that department, that discipline, that might be the sort of person who would have the skills, would have the knowledge to be able to supervise that project. So the procedure starts off like that, and you might say at this point in time, well, I wouldn't know who to ask. Well, you will when you get here. So if you start your degree, you don't do those types of units straight away. You would do some units in the program. You would get some idea about what research type thing you might like to do, and you'd also become familiar with some of the staff through the units that you would do. And then you basically approach a staff member to ask the next steps. That's kind of how it works. It's pretty informal. That's how it works. Another question here. I'm working full time. Do you offer evening classes, and what's the workload like? So that's another very good question. Yeah, look, most of the units are offered in the evening. So they're not all offered in the evening. There are a couple that are only offered during the day, but the vast majority of the units that you would do in Master of Economics are offered in fact day and evening. There are only a couple that would require attendance during the day. So the vast majority can be done in the evening. The workload, well, the workload is, we usually suggest, and this has got to be a rule of thumb because different people study in different ways. Some people study much more efficiently than others. But as a rough rule of thumb, for each unit, that would be a 3-hour lecture each week. That's the classroom time. Outside of the classroom time, you'd be looking at about 8 to 9 hours of study. So that gives you some indication of the workload. Now, that's an average figure. Some people will be able to study and get through with less than that each week. Others might take a bit more. Depends on how efficient you study. But that gives you some information. The workload's not it's not easy in that sense. But you're getting an important qualification. But there is a work associated with that. A question from Miguel, basically about the process for applying. So to apply, you apply through the Macquarie Uni website and you apply through the online application manager. So the application takes place online. It's very easy. So go to the Macquarie University website, look for the online application manager, and just follow the process. The steps are fairly straightforward. If you have any questions about that, if you try to enrol online and there's some sort of problem, you can always use that postgraduate@nq.edu.au email address. So send them an email and say, I'm trying to enrol, I'm having difficulty or whatever, and they'll answer you.